Hey guys, Melissa Krause here. I'm going to talk to you today about return on investment or ROI for short in instructional design. Investopedia.com defines return on investment as a performance measure used to evaluate the efficiency or profitability of an investment. ROI tries to directly measure the amount of return on a particular investment relative to the investment's cost. Um, Basically, just that, you know, what are you going to get out of what you put your time or money into? However, applying that concept to instructional design is a little bit trickier because in the business world, it's pretty cut and dry, and those measurements can be done mathematically, and they can see usually in dollars whether or not their investment returns to them a profit. But in instructional design, we're not looking at money cost. In some senses, we're also looking at um, did the design improve an employee or a student in their attitudes and their line of thinking or their capabilities of doing certain tasks. Um, However, there is a dollar side to it as well, and that is also important to consider as an instructional designer when you go to produce something for a client. According to Shearer and Park, there are several factors in cost equation, and each must be viewed systematically as there's no simple cause and effect relationship. And that's because, um, that your client is not necessarily um, looking at money coming in because of it. They're looking at uh, whether or not their employee has improved to help the company be better in a whole lot of ways. But that's basically what it is. So that's why it's not so cut and dry in instructional design. Lewandowski also says that the return on investment is not just a function of financial return, but also a function of accomplishing stated objectives. And that's what instructional design does is we have goals or objectives that we're trying to reach. And that's where the return on investment would come from. Some things to consider. Um, an institution or organization may want something that's got shelf life, something that's going to last for at least 3 to 5 years, because they don't want to turn around every year and have to do something new and spend that money or make that investment every year. They also want something that's got good interactivity between the student and the instructor. Not just in the educational world, but also in the business world or training employees. They want good interactivity to happen between the two. And then, of course, there's, and especially the government, or I'm sorry, and especially in the educational world, adherence to government regulations and accessibility requirements is also a must. So we have to consider those things. And to turn that around and looking at billable hours and cost effectiveness, um, there's a cost of implementing instructional design, and there should be some benefits that come from those costs. At least that's what your client is looking for. Um, they also need to know like the billable hours, and that helps the designer to know which features and technologies that they need to include in the course. So, um, billable hours just has to do with what you as an instructional designer can charge for. How are these estimates derived? So generally speaking, estimates are made by estimating the total net revenue compared to the total additional costs. So net revenue is a result of um, generating the enrollment or retaining students due to instructional design effort, or you can also say in regards to holding on to employees at a company. You can also say that cost savings that are directly brought on by this implementation. So, in the long run, are you spending less money because of it, or are you having to put more money in later on down the road? So, they have to look at those things. The additional costs are important to consider because you just don't know what this might all entail. There's a lot of different avenues and a lot of different facets to consider. But Rossman tells us that the total addition costs of the reform are generated through the additional initial one time cost of designing and implementing effort. and the additional recurring annual costs associated with that reform. So, like, how much more money do we have to put in the long run after implementing the design or the course or whatever you want to call it? Um, is that going to be worth it to see the results that we want to see? So, in summary, instructional designers are looking to create content for a client. I mean, that's pretty much what we do. But it is very important to consider that ROI for that client, because if they don't feel like their money is going to something that's going to benefit them, then they're not going to invest in it. Um, because like everything else in our world, everything comes down to the almighty dollar. And potential clients need to feel that the product of an instructional designer has to offer is worth their time and money um, in the long run for them. So, as an instructional designer, always consider that ROI and what you have to offer and what your client can potentially get out of that. So, thank you for listening to that today, and have a great day.